What's going on? Average Tech Guy here. Today we are back. More tech and more reviews. And today we are going to be testing out the iPhone 13 Pro Max against the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Because on the iPhone 13, Apple has added a 120 Hz adaptive refresh rate. Now, keyword being adaptive. So what does that mean, and how does that affect this screen versus the one on the 12 Pro Max? Today, we're gonna test them out. Let's go. Okay, so before we get started, I wanna put each one of these in a case. So when we're scrolling and doing our little testing, nothing is gonna be like jumping around. So I'm throwing both of these in a case. The iPhone 12 is gonna be in an official Apple leather case, and the 13 is gonna be in one of the latest cases that I just got in from Caseology. This is the Nano Pop. So it makes them just a little more stable. All right, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and start some tests up. Now, the first test I really want to try is just flicking them on. So I'm gonna knock both of them off, and then what I'm gonna do is tap them on. We will swipe up, and there we go. The one on the right, which is the iPhone 13, looks just a little more fluid. Now, to the average person, the average consumer, you will not be able to tell the difference. But as far as people who deal with different types of screens and tech all the time, you can actually see a little bit of difference in the screen. Now, is that enough to go out and upgrade from this phone to that phone? Of course not. But we will be doing a few more tests just to see if anything else catches our eye. Now, first thing we want to try out is going to be the calendar. So we'll open up calendar, and what we'll do is we'll just go back out to the month view. Now, right away, you can see a difference in the screens. And if you notice, the screens are relatively at the same brightness level, but you still can tell there is a slight difference in the screen brightness. So since we have our calendar open, first things first, we need to do just some random scrolling. So I'm just gonna flick it, and to the average eye, the 12 seems to be moving faster, which is over here. But if you actually pay close attention, the 13 has a more smooth, you see, you can kind of see it when it slows down and stops, but the 13 has a little more of a smooth transition. On the screen, the 12 looks more jumpy as it's moving, looks a little more pixelated. But over here on the 13, a little more smooth. Once again, Apple has a great product over here already with a great screen quality. The average eye is not gonna pick any of this stuff up. And if you remove them from each other, you can't see any of that. Now, so that is the actual calendar. We'll go back home and notice animations are pretty much about the same. Next thing we want to try out is going to be navigating the Apple Store. Now, if you do notice, the processor in this phone is a little bit faster because it took this one a little longer to load up. And as soon as I clicked over here, it worked. They're both on the same Wi-Fi. There are no issues at that point. Once again, we are on Apple's website, and you notice I'm just scrolling with one finger. And you notice this one over here on the left, which is the 12, is just a little more jumpy. It still scrolls perfectly, but you can just notice a more smooth, more fluid take on the scrolling over here. I'll let you just see the scrolling. Once again, if you remove these devices from each other, you don't even see that in either one of them. The scrolling on this one, and like I said, I go back to it as always, Apple has always had a great product when it comes to screen quality and the actual texture of their scroll. No issues there. Next up, we are going to visit apple.com just to get on a website and still noticing that the 13 loaded faster than the 12. So we are on their actual website, and same thing, we're on the internet now. And if you notice, to the average eye, the average consumer, you are not going to notice a difference. Click on that, Shop Mac, and we'll scroll a little bit. And my fingers are moving exactly the same, but you can still notice over here it's a little more fluid, a little more consistent, and over here it gets to be a little jumpy when you view it on the camera. That's the camera view. To the naked eye, it's gonna be pretty much the same. Animations are still about the same when you come back out. Next thing we want to try is going into the map. So scrolling, pinching, zooming, all that good stuff. So, the fluidity of both screens is really nice. You do notice just a little bit of lag when you put them side by side. You just notice a little jitteriness on the 12 versus the 13 scrolling. Next up, we are going to go into our settings. Now, these are the settings right here. We got everything listed that we need, and we'll scroll. And at times it looks like the 12 is moving faster, but that's really the fewer amount of, and at times it may seem like the 12 is actually scrolling faster than the 13, but it's pretty much just the adaptive screen on this, the adaptive ProMotion display. This one is still a nice display. There are no issues. It still works. It's nice to the touch. There are no issues. 12 is still really nice when you are scrolling. I've had no issues out of it, and like literally it feels good, looks good. And if you separate these two and do the same things, it's going to look exactly the same. Now, one of the other big things that people are gonna want to know about these is actually gaming. So we're gonna try a few games out just to see how they look and how they feel, and we'll talk about it on the other side. So as you can see, when we're looking at Asphalt 9, Asphalt 9 is pretty much a graphic heavy game when it comes to playing on the phone. And it still looks really good. On the left-hand side is gonna be the iPhone 12, and then the right-hand side is gonna be the iPhone 13. You can't even really see a difference in the gameplay. And I know that I'm kind of all over the place because I'm not used to playing with motion on this one. I'm used to playing with a controller, but graphics look really good. They're smooth, they're fluid. And I think that's where Apple comes in at saying it's an adaptive ProMotion display, because adaptive means certain things it will change for. That's why the word adaptive can be used. I don't think it's a 120 hertz refresh rate on everything, and I'm pretty sure it's not. Some apps are not gonna, take advantage of that, and it is a new thing. So most apps won't take advantage of that. Keep that in mind. Some things are going to be in 120 hertz refresh, and some are not going to be. So once again, we got the iPhone 12 in the left hand, iPhone 13 in the right hand. We are just going to play a little brick break and get these in about the same position, and let's let them rip. And I mean, that almost just looks identical. I'm gonna get them in the same position again, almost, and just let them go. And they still look almost exactly the same. These things look almost identical. So your scrolling, your gameplay, pretty much anything that you're doing with these devices are gonna be right on par with each other. You really can only tell the differences when you put them side by side. And like I said, the average consumer is not going to recognize these minuscule little differences. So is the ProMotion 120 hertz really that much better than the old iPhone screen? In my opinion, my personal opinion, the answer is no. They're going to scroll about the same. They look about the same. The average person is not going to be able to tell the difference. And the average consumer is really worried about it just moving. Like, they're not worried about, oh, does it do this with the fluidity, or is it this smooth when it moves? The average consumer wants to make sure that it's just going to work and it's going to look good while doing it. And both of these phones have that capability. So if you have the 12, there's no need to upgrade to the 13. If you have the 11, I would maybe suggest upgrading to the 13, but you still don't really have to. But if you have the 10 or anything below the 11, it's a good idea to upgrade to this. This is a great deal, but also it's a good idea to upgrade to this one and save a few bucks. So if you got anything less than an 11, jump to a 12. You don't have to jump to a 13. If you have the money, you can jump to a 13. It'll work out for you. Hopefully this has been able to help someone out. Until next time, be sure and give me that big thumbs up and please subscribe. Average Tech Guy out. Peace.